It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here. A kind of a surprising incident right in the middle. Watch Mary Jo's eyes as she looks heavenward. Details to come on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT. Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 264, recorded June 7th, 2012. When will then be now? Windows Weekly is brought to you by Go to Assist from Citrix. Take control of your IT world from one simple cloud-based platform. Provide live or unattended support to all your users anywhere. Sign up for your 30-day trial today at gotoassist.com. Click the Try It Free button and use the offer code WINDOWS. And by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, visit Squarespace.com and use the offer code WINDOWS6. And don't forget to get your free domain registration with annual plan subscriptions. And by Audible.com. To download the free audiobook of your choice, visit audible.com/Windows. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show that covers Windows weekly, as a matter of fact. I was always told if you're going to name a show, you have two choices: make it clever or make it make sense. And in this case, we chose making sense. Paul Thurrott is here, ladies and gentlemen, in the left corner, in the yellow trunks. In the right corner, in the orange trunks, I don't know, Mary Jo Foley. Paul is, of course, the... God, Paul, I felt so bad for you all week long.
How come?
Paul writes the incredible SuperSite for Windows blog. And all week long, I saw people steal your content talking about Windows 8, just like nonstop.
Sure.
Nonstop. I'm at The Verge, and they're going, well, here's how you can install Windows Media Center. I said, wait a minute. That's Paul's article.
Well, anyone could write an article like that, which explains
once
how the
they
Verge
know
did
the
it.
secret.
But anyway,
once they know the secret. Yeah. Anyway, I felt bad for you, and and I'm doing the radio show, and somebody calls and asks that question, so I do a search. And then actually, no. My first reaction was, oh, Paul will have it. I said, go to SuperSite for Windows, SuperSite.com. Paul will have it, and of course, you did right on the front page. Sure. And then I did a search, and of course, The Verge, because they have all that SEO, shows up, and I thought, well, that's just not right. That's just not right.
It's okay, SEO.
Somebody get
I do
Paul
pretty
some
well
SEO.
for myself.
You're doing all right. I'm glad to hear it. That's not because of us, I can tell you that. Mary Jo Foley, she gets Bill Ziff signs her paychecks. No, he doesn't. He's long gone. How long have you been with Ziff or ZD, I should say?
Oh, man. In all different incarnations.
Me too.
A long time.
Started in the early 90s when it was Bill Ziff and his sons. Then it was the Ziff boys. Then SoftBank bought it. God, it went through a lot of changes.
But now ZDNet is CBS.
It's CBS.
Just keep it even more confusing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's CNET.
It's CNET. And
people frequently come up to me and say, I used to watch you on CNET TV or ZDNet. They say that all the time because the confusion. I don't blame them. I don't disabuse them. I say you're right because it's all so confused now.
It is.
AOL owns Engadget and TechCrunch. CBS owns everybody else, and then there's Paul and me. The last independent.
Could somebody just buy me?
Is Penton Media? Let me ask you, because I know that Penton Media is the umbrella corporation. Is that just one guy named Bob Penton, or is it a larger company?
No, it's like the company from The Office. You know, it's like they.
Is it headquartered in Scranton, Pennsylvania?
Yeah,
might as well be.
It's like, yeah, no, I don't know. They do all this stuff that has nothing to do with what I do. So Penton is this giant company that does all kinds of different stuff, and most of it has, I don't even understand.
Are they like specialty magazines? Is that what they?
No, only some of it is publishing. I mean, they're kind of big into trade shows and things, and of course, a lot of the stuff that they do, even publishing wise, is not technology related. You know, they have cooking and gardening magazines and things.
Do they do big trucks and cars, stuff like that?
Big trucks and cars.
Big trucks.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Maybe like a big truck. I'm on a Monster Truck magazine. I'm just looking. I'm just wondering if they have one.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe, yeah.
Custom content, marketing services, international sales. Mike knows energy.
Energy.
That's Mike.
Yep, there's Mike.
Yep, right there. He knows energy.
There's a picture of me like that somewhere.
Is there? Are you in this on the scroll? Forrest knows agriculture.
Oh, I met that guy. Actually, I met that guy when we were taking those pictures.
Nancy knows healthy living. Mike knows. Oh, hey, they dropped you out, Paul.
I'm gone. I've dropped off.
That's rotten.
Yeah,
that sucks. Okay. Come on, Penton. Don't you know where your bread is buttered?
I put it on Facebook if you want to go see it.
Oh, okay. So they that was when you were in Colorado that one time?
No, that actually happened in New York. I had to go. It was like a photo shoot.
Cool. Anyway, there are much more interesting and important things to discuss, including Microsoft at E3. E3 was a little bit sleepy this year, but Microsoft dominated, as you predicted last week. Dominated. It was their show.
You know, I wonder. Mary Jo's going to fall asleep, so I think we should just set an alarm and wake her up when it's over. But
or we can watch her fall asleep. That's always fun.
I watched the Nintendo presentation. I watched the Sony presentation. I found it all very interesting. I mean, and of course the Microsoft one as well, which we could watch live, courtesy of the Xbox 360. It was on the web. It was on Spike TV and everything. And it's kind of funny. You know, E3 is known as a video game show. It's really an entertainment show, but it's very video game focused, obviously.
It stands for Electronic Entertainment Expo, so...
Yeah. I actually found the video game stuff that Microsoft showed to be the least interesting part of their presentation. I mean, they're touting the same things, literally, that they've always touted, in the sense that it's, you know, we have certain games that are only on the Xbox or have content that's only on the Xbox or that come first to the Xbox, and it's all sequel, you know, lots and lots of sequels.
By which you mean not SQL as in structured query language.
No, I literally mean, you know, Halo 14, Call of Duty 29, yes. You know,
that kind
Gears
of
of War 3.5, whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's crazy to me that
it is.
The video game market is really very much like Hollywood, right? Where sequels are very safe.
There's a difference, and that's that sequels on video games are almost always improvements, whereas in Hollywood they're almost always worse.
Okay, fair enough. Right? That's a good point. That's a good point.
It's just the difference in the technology. But I do think that I was I guess if you were going to synthesize, and it's a bit of a stretch, what happened at E3, it was about the second screen, and Microsoft really led there.
Well, actually, you know, I think all three companies made a compelling case for the second screen.
The Wii U is a second screen.
Yeah, the Wii U thing was very interesting, and they had a golf demo in particular I thought was kind of cool, where obviously on the Wii today you can swing the controller in the air and the golf ball and screen goes flying off into the distance. And what the second screen adds is you put the second screen on the floor and you see the golf ball in the grass there, and it adds that, you know, a second layer of it is kind of cool. And so we'll see. I obviously all three companies will.
What did Sony? What did Sony say in that regard?
So Sony had their Vita for the same type of thing. Yes. They had a phrase for it. I don't have it in front of me, but it was some kind of a fusion thing where, as on the Xbox 360 with this smart glass we'll talk about in a moment, there's going to be this notion of games that have I would call it an optional second screen that can appear in this case on the Vita, which is their mobile play. So I thought that was. I don't think any of them were any less compelling than the others. The one thing that Microsoft gets a lot of credit for is their stuff only in this second screen scenario is multi-platform. So in addition to supporting Windows 8 tablets and RT tablets like you would expect, and Windows Phone like you would also expect, they're supporting iOS devices like the iPad and the iPhone, and Android devices, including handsets and tablets. And so for this one bit of it, they've decided to be a little bit agnostic, for the second screen stuff. And I think that's smart.
That's cool. Okay, so
I think they had to
hear that damn sound again.
Putting it face down, just want you to know, didn't work.
I think they had to be agnostic about the second screen because, look at their market share in phones, right, and tablets. So I think
Sony, you're talking about.
No, Microsoft on that one. Yeah, Microsoft, I think, had to be.
Oh, that's right. They're the ones who said it'll be iOS and Android. That's right.
Yeah.
There was a Sony bit that I thought was interesting that got underplayed. They've had this notion of PlayStation for Android. They changed the name of it. I don't remember the name. I think it's just called PlayStation Mobile now. And there was a little push a while back. Remember this notion of imagine a Android handset that comes out that has basically a PSP-style controller built into it, and how cool that would be. And I believe that someone actually shipped something like that, and it never really took off. But they were talking about the second generation version of that. And I actually still think that could have some legs. That seems like a good idea to me. As popular as iPhones are and Android phones for gaming, I mean, there's only so far you can go with a touchscreen. And I think that one of the big, I don't want to call it an innovation, but it's very interesting to me that with the Vita, they brought the notion of 2 thumbsticks to portable gaming for the first time, and that's going to enable shooters to appear on handheld devices in ways that were really kind of impossible today on most other devices. Even though you see shooters, of course, on an iPhone and iPad, they're a little awkward to use, and we'll see if that is enough, to make those kinds of things take off. But it's a good idea, and it's something that pushes Sony a little bit out from their pure PlayStation kind of agenda. So that's okay. But anyway, I think the big thing this year was, the non-gaming stuff. And I would say that in that area, Microsoft probably did, win, whatever that means. Although they all are pushing a very similar series of things. It was interesting to see Sony, for example, talk about how they had more services on their console than anyone else, which I actually don't believe to be the case. In fact, I don't even think it's close. Microsoft, meanwhile, is doubling the number of services that they have this year, I believe was the quote, and, of course, is rebranding their primary music and video and game services as promised, so that they'll all have the Xbox name and will work across all of their major platforms, including phone, Windows, and the 360.
Cool.
So, interesting stuff,
yeah. Yeah. So what is this smart glass? Is that an actual thing made of glass?
No. Smart glass is amazing to me. In fact, let me just go to news.google.com right now and look at this, because I have never seen anything so misreported as smart glass. And it all started...
I want to say something there. The reason it was misreported is because of how Microsoft presented it.
Oh, no. By the way, I was literally just going to say it all starts with Microsoft. Okay. Microsoft themselves.
Who knew? When you watch those demos, it was like you couldn't tell what it was.
It's
right?
It's smart glass.
The only thing dumber than the smart glass demo was that Sony did a demo of these interactive books, and it made it look like this stuff was coming up out of the air in front of the person playing the game, and it was in the screen, like not in real life. So in other words, the person is sitting there with an empty book, but on the screen is a video of the person with this fake stuff, coming out. It was really kind of bizarre. So I don't know if I can quickly find.
Paul and I were both watching the keynote at the same time, the E3 keynote, and I just said to him on IM, I'm like, what the heck is smart glass? After we both watched it, I'm like, is it a tablet?
Right. So the funny thing, remember there was a rumor before. You had forwarded me a story, and someone said this is going to be a new tablet. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying, there's no way this is a new. There's no way.
But they showed it with a tablet, so that smart glass running on a tablet. So that implies what's a smart glass tablet.
So Microsoft has described this thing as new and innovative, right? As if it were some brand new. Here we are. We're gonna change everything.
Yep.
And it was really funny. I was talking to Mary Jo the day of this event. She said, "What is this thing?" And so I started stepping through it with her. And as I was saying it, it occurred to me, this thing is nothing more than what they already have. This is Xbox Companion. That's all this is. It's the next version of Xbox Companion, but just to kind of bring it back. I mean, you could look at any story that's been written about. In fact, I meant to do that. Let me just go look. Everyone has written about this thing as if it were this unbelievable. Microsoft Smart Glass is a game changer.
It's a remote control, kind of.
It's nothing more than what Xbox Companion is today. It's a mobile app. That's all it is. It's just a mobile app.
A mobile app so you're watching, as in their example, you're watching School of Rock, and you can then on your phone.
But don't get too specific. Today you have a remote control. Like I have this remote control here for the Xbox 360, right? You can point this thing at the TV and you can control it.
Yeah.
One of the things that Xbox Companion does is it's a remote app on your phone, just like Apple has one of these too for iTunes.
Right. But it doesn't have this functionality.
No. But I'm just saying, at its most basic, it is a remote control. And so there's a version for Windows 8. There's a version for the Windows Phone. Okay, fine. The next thing it does is if you're on Windows Phone in the future, and if you're on Windows 8 today, you can be playing content from the marketplace. Meaning videos like TV shows or movies, or music, Zoom Pass, whatever. And you can do this handoff thing. And remember we talked about Play 2 last week and DLNA. Okay, so the next step up from that is something called Play on Xbox. Play on Xbox requires the Xbox Companion app today. It will require the Xbox Smart Glass in the future. All it really is a thing that establishes a connection between the device and the console. It looks at what you're doing, and it just puts it out on the console. It takes it from the PC and it puts it on the console. It's like it's a handoff. It's not streaming from one to the other. It literally is saying, okay, you're watching this movie from the cloud. You're at this point. Let's now put it over here. Okay. So that exists today. You can do this right now in Windows 8.
And they advertise it on Dish or something. DirecTV is advertising.
Okay. But I'm just saying, this is Microsoft's implementation of that.
Right.
Okay. The stuff that's new, and this I would call it more evolved than new, but they're talking about this notion that you could write games in the future, and they used Madden as an example. Actually, let's just say Madden as an example, where the device, whether it's a phone or a tablet, can act as a kind of a secondary screen in specially made games. They actually have something like that today, by the way. It's not very sophisticated, but they have games that, or actually applications like Halo Waypoint is an example, or there was a Crackdown game on the Windows Phone that's an example where you're not really doing something simultaneously, but you're doing something on the device that impacts the game in the console or whatever it is in the console. So you could do something like play Call of Duty and make a weapon loadout, and then in the next level in the console, you actually use that weapon loadout, even though you created it over here on this other thing. And so
that's kind of like the Nintendo's Wii U. It's a second screen on a game.
Exactly like that. Yes, exactly like that. And exactly like whatever the Sony thing is, whose name I cannot remember, that connects the PS3 to the Vita. It is exactly the same as that. And so it doesn't exist just for games. I think the one place where Microsoft is exceeding the other two is that they have also established this as a notion for entertainment content. So the great example they used, it was a very good one, was Game of Thrones, which is the most complex TV series ever created and the most complex series of books ever written. In fact, they spiral so wildly out of control by book 4 that they're almost not even worth discussing. But I to a normal human being watching season 2 of Game of Thrones, episode 6, 7, whatever, I can't imagine they have any idea what's happening.
Right.
And so I've not seen this, and I believe it just to be a demo at this point. I know people have used it hands-on at the show, but you could imagine a Game of Thrones app that while you're watching the show, it shows you additional content on the screen, and it has a notion of where you are in the show so that it can say, okay, well, here are the characters who are on the screen. Here's how they relate to other characters. Here's where they live in this land. Here's a map of the place so you can see where they are at this time, that kind of thing. An app like that would actually be very valuable for a show as complex as
huge.
Yeah.
And
HBO
Go is doing some of that sort of,
Yeah, I think this is just a formalization of something. In other words, we're going to see games in the fall on the Xbox 360 that do this, and we're going to see entertainment titles that do this. There is a very early version of this on Windows Phone. If you want to check it out, assuming it's still there. In fact, you mentioned School of Rock.
Right.
If you go to the Windows Phone Marketplace and look up School of Rock, unless they've removed it, Paramount created a special interactive movie version of School of Rock only. They were going to make 10 or 11 others that I believe never came out, where this thing works like Xbox Smart Glass, except in a single app. So it's a movie, but it also has all these things. You can touch it and bubbles come up to tell you stuff about the characters, and there's more information. It's basically a single screen version, I think an experiment, sort of a preview, if you will, of Xbox Smart Glass, of this part of Xbox Smart Glass.
I think this is kind of cool because now it's kind of like, one of the issues for motion picture companies is they were doing real well selling DVDs with extras, and then all of a sudden people get streaming. And Apple's done some sort of weird extras thing, but it's extra content. This is a perfect way to put DVD extras into the movie. I'm sure they'll jump on it for that reason.
This, we've all done this. I mean, the first time that you get a laptop and it has Wi-Fi and you have Wi-Fi at home, you bring it out in the den and you're watching TV. And this, years ago, maybe we were watching Lost or we were watching some science show where they mentioned something no one had ever heard of.
And you pause
the TV and you Google it or whatever. This is kind of a more interactive, formalized version of that, if you will, I think. And I think it's a natural evolution.
And what I like of this Microsoft solution is cross-platform. I mean, the Nintendo Wii U is fine if you've got a Nintendo Wii, but I mean, it's really limited to that market only. Sony, same thing. And who's going to buy a Vita just for that? But to make it a smartphone app makes a lot of sense, especially since they're going to be a cross-platform. So whatever phone you have.
I think the cross-platform thing is the biggest bit, but I wish they had gone cross-platform on more stuff.
Will they do tablets? Will they do an iPad, for instance?
They say there's
iOS.
An iPad. There's an iPad and an iPhone version.
Because this stuff works better on a larger screen for obvious reasons.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think what I was looking for, though, was they announced Xbox Music at the show, did not announce Xbox Video, which I found very odd. And they also really only provided a sneak peek of Xbox Music. So everyone has a million questions. Will it work with my own Zune? And, nobody knows. There's all these questions. But I really had hoped that Monday's announcement was going to be a little more far-reaching and that they would have formally announced Xbox Music and Xbox Video and then said, oh, and by the way, we're bringing these to everything as well. Because something like Zune Music Pass, which still works on Xbox Music, and maybe will be renamed, I think we could imagine Xbox Music Pass or whatever they want to call it, would be so much more valuable if it worked across all of these devices, right? Not just Windows devices and Xbox, but also the iPad, the iPhone, and every Android device, right? I mean, that makes this thing way more valuable. Just like Smart Glass is way more valuable by virtue of it being on these other platforms. So, maybe they will. Maybe that's a surprise they're holding on for later. But I do hope they do that because I think that once you get a little taste of this cross-platform thing and this sort of implicit acknowledgement from Microsoft that, other platforms do matter, you kind of want to see them push it out to all this stuff.
Well, that's the rumor, right? That when we were hearing about that Woodstock thing, that maybe this is their Spotify equivalent or whatever, and so maybe there'll be a way to play on the browser on different devices or some other way to get it on other devices.
Yeah, but that was actually. I mean, Mary Jo and I spend every waking minute talking to each other when we're not on the podcast. So one of the other conversations we had ahead of E3, Mary Jo and I, was about that service. What would this be? What could it mean? And I was saying that my hopes for it were that they were going to enable all this additional functionality. Because today, if you look at Zune Music Pass and you go to, say, the Xbox 360 console, you can search for an artist or an album or a song, whatever. You can bring it up. But you can't do a lot of the more advanced kind of cloud-based features that you would expect, nor can you sync those across devices. So, for example, you can't today go and make a dynamic playlist or a manual playlist of music and then have it saved to your account and then have it show up on your phone and have it show up on your Windows 8 tablet. And it seemed to me that this would be something that needs to be in there. And of course, now they don't say that. There are hints that some of that stuff is coming. They showed a screenshot that had Smart DJ, which is their dynamic playlist creator. And the thing in Zune Music Pass that is most like Spotify or Pandora or whatever. So that will be on the 360, and that's great. And it will be in the Windows 8 app and presumably in the Windows Phone 8 app. It's great. But what I would like to see is sync, right? I want that thing to be attached to my account. And then you get to this point where you stop worrying about music on your device because it's all out there. You don't have to worry about it. One of the nice things about the Apple iCloud service is that even though you have to manually upload all your content, it includes playlists. And so one of the things you can download to a device is just the playlist. So if I have like a workout playlist or whatever, and I don't have it on my iPod Touch, I can just download that, take it to the gym, and listen to that music. And I hope that Microsoft does that. But we don't know.
It was
as
just usual, more questions than answers.
Yeah. Plus, they put a Q&A. I have a link to this. It's really funny. Obviously, in the wake of an announcement like this, you hear from every Zune owner on Earth in particular. Yeah. And these guys are saying, or actually, Zune owners are a small group of people, but what about Windows 7 people, right? So that's 600 million people now. So nowhere in this does it say anything about Windows 7. It specifically says, we will release Xbox Music on the 360, Windows phones, and Windows 8 PCs and tablets. Well, what about Windows 7? Windows 7 is half of every PC on Earth.
Yeah. What did they say? They just said 600 million or something?
600 million. Yeah. Nothing. So
what about the 99.9%?
Yeah. So you can guess, and my best guess is that it will probably still work, right? I mean,
well, of course it will. I don't know why they left it out. It's just that's an error.
Well, it will probably still work through the existing application. So in other words, I don't expect to see an Xbox Music app on Windows 7.
They won't bother. So what they're saying is that you'll continue to use what you're using.
which is Zune PC software.
Right. And then
that should still work. And if that does still work, by the way, that suggests further that you could sync your Windows Phone to that if you have a Windows Phone 7 device or a Zune HD device or even a legacy Zune device. Assuming that those things work with Zune Music Pass, which they all do.
Do you think this will be a built-in on Windows 8?
It is a built-in. It's built in now.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
So
that's why they're highlighting it. You know, this is the new thing.
Well, so the difference is today in the release preview, there's a music app and a video app, and actually there's an Xbox Live Games app.
Right.
In the future, the music and video apps will be renamed and rebranded to Xbox Music and Xbox Video. But it's not just as simple as changing the little logo, because that is happening, but also there's additional features. So even in the release preview, those apps don't have all the stuff. So the social features coming. I talked about that smart DJ feature is coming. The SkyDrive integration is coming. But none of this stuff.
Winter is coming.
Oh, winter is coming.
That's little.
But don't you think? I think those
by the
are
way,
still going to be
the books.
apps,
winter has come.
Right?
Winter
those
came.
Those are still going to be apps you download from a store, right? I mean, they're not going to be like you.
Well, that's what I meant by built-ins. They're in.
Oh, they're built in. They're in. They're these are core built-in apps.
Yeah. So you don't have to download anything.
Built-in apps.
Unlike Windows Media Center.
Yeah, like Windows 8 will come with. It's funny because I not understanding that these things would be rebranded. I made the observation writing about the release preview that the music app and the video app are structured and are styled exactly the same as the Xbox Live Games app. And I thought that's interesting. You know, even though they're obviously media apps, you could almost think of them as Xbox apps because they're exactly the same. And now that makes sense because they were made by the same team. But those three apps are going to be in Windows 8. They're part of Windows 8. They're not. This is not like Zune PC software. This is going to, this is in the box.
Yeah, I was just questioning it because of antitrust and all that.
Oh, that's yesterday. We don't worry about that stuff.
We're not a trust anymore.
I know. Yeah, I know. But I could just see other gaming companies.
Well, right. Actually, so
perhaps.
What about Steam? So, for example,
right.
The Xbox Live Game app today in the release preview doesn't do much because you can't see any of the games that are coming. There's little previews. But eventually, that will provide you with both access to Xbox games, and I presume Windows Phone games. There are certainly the Windows Phone games I've played are listed in there, but also Windows games.
So,
right?
Windows games? Is it? Am I looking at it now? Or
yeah. So click on that. Click on the green icon down there, the green tile. No, the
Xbox
bottom.
Live Games. Yeah.
Xbox Live Games. So this is the release preview you have.
Yes.
Okay. So what you'll see here are groups related to Windows games and Xbox games. Eventually,
it's the first time I've loaded it, so it's a little slow. Yeah.
Yeah. So off to the left, what you're going to see is your avatar and your friends list. And all that.
It's loading all that right now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So what's interesting is the that section to the right is like a spotlight section. So scroll to the right, past what you can see.
Whoops. Scroll. How do I scroll? Oh, there.
Scroll bars on the bottom.
This thing.
Okay. So you'll see there's a Windows Game Marketplace and it says coming soon and everything. So we can't really see what that stuff is per se. And then there's an Xbox Live Game Marketplace. Now on that one, click on Fruit Ninja. No, actually don't click on that one. Click on Plants vs. Zombies.
Okay.
And so this one's interesting because you could buy it, assuming it's available electronically. You can actually buy the game for the Xbox
or play it on the Xbox.
Well, but that would use Xbox Companion and in the future Xbox Smart Glass to basically hand off to the console.
That's the handoff.
So your console obviously would have to be on for this to work.
Right.
You have to have the software on the console electronically. It has to be on the hard drive.
Right. So you click that, you buy it, and now
so you can buy it. And what's interesting is the game gets attached to your account.
Right.
And then the next time you go to the console, you can bring up the Xbox Guide, go to Marketplace, go to Active Downloads, and you'll see it there, and you can download it and install it, and then you can play it.
Is this the only way to scroll, is to drag that scroll bar with a mouse?
No, you can use page up and page down. There's actually
page up and page down.
Push the mouse against the edge of the screen. That should also work.
That might be. I'm in emulation. Yeah. Okay, page up and page down. That's good. Yeah, there needs to be a keyboard shortcut for everything.
There's all kinds of different ways. But
that looks like me, doesn't it?
It does actually kind of look like it.
It's a mini me. I must have spent a lot of time on that at some point. That's cool. So there's now is the music app here too, or is that still to come?
Yeah, it's the orange tile right above where you.
It says music. Yeah. And
and
this is the replacement for the Zune Marketplace.
It's the music part.
Music part.
Yeah. Yep. And this works with Zoom Music Pass now. After the release preview, see where it says music up in the top left. That will have an Xbox icon, and then it will say Xbox Music instead of just music.
Right.
This thing too, if just select anything. I mean, you can see an artist, and when you do this, you'll see there's a play on Xbox.
Right. Wow.
Again, this will require. If you click on it now, it won't work.
Why can't I play it on my computer? Oh,
so you don't have the Xbox
Companion from the store,
right?
And I can't get that yet.
No, you can get it. It's available now. That's my point. I mean, a lot of this stuff is actually available now.
Okay, cool.
Now, this won't. It's not going to work if you don't have an Xbox sitting there running,
right. And it has to be on the same network, obviously.
Has to be on the same network. And the content you're trying to play has to be from the marketplace. And that could be a purchased item, a rented item. It could be Zune Pass music. But it can't be your own file. You can't open a movie file you may have on your hard drive and play that to the Xbox yet, although that's coming in the future.
Cool. Neat. Oh, good. I'm going to get the new Lil Wayne. I'm excited. I am so excited.
Yeah, so it says preview. It's interesting. It says preview.
Okay, there you go. Thank you, Lil Wayne.
See, I bet on mine it just says play because I have Zoom Music Pass on my attached to my account, so I probably get.
I thought I did, but maybe not. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. See, I see
preview play, but I see buy album, but it would just be play if you had a Zune Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, in fact, there it is. It's saying, hey.
See what's missing. What's missing in this version?
It still says Zune on this, by the way.
Yeah, it does for now, but that's going away. So this application will actually allow you to just if you do it again, it will actually work.
Little bug, no big deal. No big deal. Yeah,
just keep going, Lee. It's fine.
There it is.
This version supports the manual creation of playlists, which is like okay.
Hey, just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
If I buy 3 months, it's $15 a month. If I buy 1 month, it's $10 a month.
That's funny.
That's if you keep songs. So the 15 lets you keep
10 songs. That's the 10-song deal? Yeah. They're not doing that on the $10 subscription anymore.
No, and the 12-month deal
that's the best deal, $8.33 a month. Yeah. And that still gives you 10 songs a month, too?
No.
They really should probably explain why this is so much more expensive. Yeah.
No new users can sign up for the 15, can they? I thought that was the
Is that done?
That's right. Yeah, it's only grandfathered in, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. See, I have no way to pay for this. No, you cannot. You cannot.
Well, let me give you Mr. Underhill's American Express account.
Oh, would you? Yeah, Underhill's great. He's fantastic. Okay. There's things I love about, by the way, this Windows 8, but I do think it's going to be a challenge for some people. I don't know. I think I love the live tiles, that they just kind of things are happening on my desktop
behind your back,
and before you log in, it says you got stuff. Here's the stuff you've got. So that's cool. You know what? This announcement actually, I don't have an Xbox. Right now, I have several in other places. I have one here, and so forth. But I'm thinking, in addition to everything else in my home theater, I probably should get an Xbox now.
I agree.
This is starting to look like a very credible set-top box.
I'm trying to sell Mary Jo on the Xbox, but she told me something shocking about herself. I'm not sure if I should reveal this publicly.
What?
You can.
She doesn't play games?
No, we knew that. But Mary Jo doesn't own a TV set.
Whoa! No wonder you're so productive.
It's worse than that. Mary Jo has not owned a TV set for, I don't want to get this wrong, but I want to say 10 years maybe?
12.
That's why Enterprise seems so interesting to you, Mary Jo. You actually don't have anything particularly stimulating in your home. Really?
Let me tell you
good
about
for
the
you, Mary Jo. I am impressed.
When I told Paul that, he said, okay, we have to do something to turn you back into a real American. You don't play games, and you don't own a TV.
She drinks beer. That's a start.
Yeah. But you need something to watch while you drink beer.
12 years, that's a long time. That's great.
It is. But, it's not for some moral high ground reason or anything. It's because when I moved to New York 12 years ago, I said, I want to make myself get out and do
Exactly. You
stuff.
live in New York. You don't need a TV. You just look out the window.
Right.
It's,
right. And people always say, like, how do you keep up with what's going on in the world? Well, there's this thing called the internet, and yeah, you can check news out there too.
Well, that's a good point too. You don't need TV as much as you used to. Nobody who watches local news anymore anyway, or even network news. And you look out your window, it's CSI, the real world, right out there.
It is. Right?
Yeah,
I know. But I keep holding my example out as like if Microsoft can ever convince me that I should have an Xbox, then I will get a TV and I will get an Xbox. Right. But so far, they have not yet convinced me. And the E3 did nothing to convince me with all the.
I'm amazed by that.
First-person shooters. Yeah, are you?
You don't want to play Gears of War
not because of the shooters, but come on. I honestly think that the combination of the problem is, Mary Jo doesn't play games, so she would have to pay for Xbox Live Gold regardless to get access to all this stuff, which I actually think is the weakest link in the whole Xbox entertainment chain. I have a real problem with that. There's also, if you read that Q&A they put up, they actually defer they didn't even have to put the question in, but they put the question in, are you going to charge for this? And they said, we're not going to talk about that yet. That suggests they are going to charge for it, right? And maybe the obvious way to charge for it, because Mary Jo asked, do you think they could make you have an Xbox to use the service? And I don't think they're going to make you have an Xbox, but I do think they're going to make you have Xbox Live Gold, right?
Which is crazy. If all you want is Zune, right? If you want Zune music, why do I have to pay for that?
And see, this is Microsoft at its worst in some ways because, in a lot of other areas, Microsoft is scrambling to catch up. And you can make this argument that certainly in digital media services and so forth, they're really far behind Apple and other companies. And yet the Xbox is the one thing that they make that gets Apple-style crowds, Apple-style love and devotion, Apple-style, I'm going to buy the next one no matter what, kind of attitude. And this is the one place they can soak you on anything, and they do. And it's amazing to me that they're doing this because I really feel like this thing could be a much bigger deal if they didn't have this Xbox Live Gold requirement for everything, But it's clearly been working out for them, so what do I know? But I think they're going to charge for it. I think they're going to I think these Xbox services, Xbox Music and Xbox Video, are going to require the Gold accounts. And so even people who have Zune Music Pass presumably might also have to pay for this other thing. I'm just guessing here, by the way. I don't know this. But the very fact that they put this question into their Q&A and then didn't answer it, I would take that as a bad sign.
Great.
Someday, Mary Jo will buy one.
On that note, Mary Jo, you really do want to get an Xbox.
Still tweeting.
If they can just show me something I want on the Xbox,
well, but you don't watch TV, and you don't play games. So, what is it going to be? I mean, Scrabble.
You could tweet with it.
Like Smart Glass. Smart Glass is kind of an interesting idea for content other than games to me. Like that, okay, maybe.
But but you don't watch DVDs or anything either, right? I mean,
I do.
Oh, you do?
I do sometimes.
So you have a television that's just not connected to the outside world.
I just watch them on my PC.
Oh, you watch them on your computer. Yeah, well, so maybe there's something there. Although Smart Glass doesn't really bring you anything because you already have kind of, with the PC, the second screen is,
But maybe my Windows Phone could be my second screen, right? Maybe.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Is there any reason, that's an interesting question, though, that Smart Glass would not work with a PC? They didn't mention that.
No, the PC's on the other end of this equation, although...
But it will work with tablets, so...
Yeah, but I mean as the second screen.
Yeah, but I'm watching Netflix or HBO Go or whatever on my... Actually, there isn't an HBO Go for the desktop, is there? Maybe there is. There's a web-based. Okay, there's a web-based version. So I'm watching Game of Thrones on my computer, and then I have my Windows Phone. There's no way that that's going to talk to the computer version.
Leo, what you're suggesting is impossible.
But it sounds good.
They just can't do it.
You have blown my mind.
You just can't do it.
I think the reason they're not doing it is because they see the Xbox as the living room solution, and the whole point of the second screen is
PC.
We know that. Well, no, they know that people sit in front of the TV with another screen already, right? A smartphone or a tablet, and sometimes a laptop.
Sometimes a laptop.
And this will work on all.
Will there be? So there will be Smart Glass for the laptop.
Oh, yeah, it's just a Windows 8 app. I mean, it would work on any
Windows 8, of course, yes.
Yeah, you could use it on a desktop computer. That would be kind of dumb, but you could do it. I mean, right? I mean, you could.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people use desktops while they're watching TV. Maybe
instead of they showed this Nike Fitbit app kind of thing at E3 where you can count your calories. I was thinking, if they had something like that for home brewing beer, now maybe we'd be talking. Like
so there's a whole division at Microsoft saying, how can we get Mary Jo to buy into this? Beer.
Home brewing app.
They have an awesome cocktail app on Windows 8. If you haven't seen this, it's beautiful.
I did see that.
Oh, well, I'm going to download it right now.
They should make a beer.
I need a drink after this. So it looks like Sony and Nintendo going for the gaming as always. There was some thought that at some point, Sony anyway might want to make a set-top box out of the PS3. I mean, it is a Blu-ray player. I mean, I do. That's
and by the way, and they have Netflix, they have Hulu Plus. They have Amazon. I mean, they do have
not well integrated though. I got to say,
I just don't. Yeah, it doesn't have the same. It's just not the same as the 360. And that's fine. The Sony PlayStation 3 has done okay, given its kind of slow start and very expensive cost, especially in the beginning. I think by sticking to their roots, maybe they're doing the right thing there. For PlayStation. I mean, PlayStation is obviously a video game brand, not an entertainment brand.
Right. So is the cocktail app in the
it's in the store, yes.
It's in this, but is it in the great apps for release preview?
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
The third one.
Cocktail Flow.
It's actually really really nice.
Or
it's
by
a nice
color. You could choose your drink by color. I would like a yellow drink today.
I'm feeling in a green mood this evening.
I want some green. Fresh paint. You get to watch it dry. Oh, there's a painting program. That's cool. Sure. All recipes. I like that. I use that actually on the iPhone. Rowie, which is a kiwi, is a.
And though that's a decent Windows Phone app. The Windows app is not very good.
Cut the rope. Wikipedia. Pirates love daddies. Oh, I'm sorry, daisies. I think pirates love their daddies.
The Father's Day app.
The Father's Day version. Moving along. Actually, let's take a break, then we'll talk about Computech, because we finally are seeing a bunch of Windows 8 hardware. Windows 8 laptops, Windows 8 touch laptops, convertibles, tablets. Computech in Taiwan in Taipei, I guess, was the show for this. But first, let's talk a little bit about GoToAssist. Brand new and updated. It's really not brand new. It's funny. I think of it as brand new. Because it has so many new features, but really this is a 10-year-old product. That makes it sound old. I should probably say it, but they are celebrating their 10th anniversary as a cloud service, one of the very first. GoToAssist. We talked about it for many years as a remote access program for Windows or Mac, and it still is the market leader in remote support, #1 according to IDC with a giant market share. But look. They've added a new feature, and if you are a GoToAssist customer, by the way, and this is how they do it always. This is automatic. You get remote monitoring as well. GoToAssist monitoring, in addition to remote access, actually they work perfectly hand in hand together. Because what you'll do is you'll run the crawler and detect everything on your network. That's hardware, network attached devices like printers, even software. So now you have a complete list of everything on your client's network. Everything. You could set up custom dashboards to track performance, to be proactive. So if a hard drive's getting full or toner's failing, you get an alert via email, text, instant message. You could preset customized alerts to tell you when critical thresholds are passed or relevant event occurs. For instance, when let's say disk space. I gotta say that carefully. When disk space falls below 5%, you could have an alert for the other thing too, but I don't. You probably would know. Optional remote support to provide live or unattended support in addition. So when things go bad, you're there. In fact, this is great because as a managed support provider, you want to be there before they go bad. So your clients think, wow, everything works so great ever since we hired him or her. This is if you're an IT professional and you want to get into managed support, This will give you everything you need. You can manage hundreds of clients right from your desktop. And it's free for the next 30 days. I want you to try it free. Visit GoToAssist.com. Click the Try It Free button. And click the promo code link there and just put in the word Windows. I know it seems kind of generic, but that's all we need. We're the only one that says Windows. And that way you'll get 30 days free, and Paul and Mary Jo will get credit. GoToAssist.com. If you're in IT or support services, you've got to know more about this. It is awesome. Try it for 30 days free. GoToAssist.com. The offer code is Windows. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley here. We're talking about the latest from Microsoft on Windows Weekly and Computex. One of these days I'd like to go. Have you ever gone to Computex, either of you?
No. I was invited one year, but it was so prohibitively expensive. I didn't.
Yeah, you fly all the way to Taiwan and everything. But yeah. I think Ryan Shrout from our This Week in Computer Hardware goes every year. He does, a website called PC Perspective that's all about hardware. And so I guess we saw Ultrabooks for Windows 7. Anything you liked particularly?
From the Windows 7 Ultrabook perspective?
Yes. I'm doing it. I'm going to narrow it down bit by bit. We'll go through this,
Yeah, so we're starting to see what I think of as sort of second-generation Ultrabooks. And I think to qualify for second-gen, I don't know if Ivy Bridge is the cross, the cross point or whatever, but there's a second-gen version of the Samsung Series 9, I think it is, which is out now, which is actually just a Sandy Bridge-based machine. But that's a particularly nice-looking machine. And they are starting to come out with bigger versions, too. So there's a 15-inch, and I think HP has even a 16-inch Ultrabook. And that's very, very, very interesting to me. I've always liked the idea of, big 15-inch laptops, but don't want to carry that kind of thing around.
That sounds like it's not an Ultrabook if it's that big.
Yeah, but I don't care what they call something like that, as long as it's, if you can imagine the Samsung Series 9, the new version, it just stretched out to 15 inches, so it's maybe an inch wider, inch and a half, whatever. The thing must weigh like 3 pounds, maybe 3.5 at the most. Being able to carry something with that large of a screen but have it weigh next to nothing is just really interesting to me personally. And so that kind of stuff is good. But, it's funny how when the Ultrabook stuff was announced, it was very clearly seen as a way to get rid of netbooks, which were really cheap, and that these things would cost more and thus would make more money for PC vendors. But the truth is, these things are so much nicer than like netbooks. I mean, and it's not just like the, better processors and better battery life and everything. It's just, really, it's the form factor. I mean, netbooks were always just too small. I mean, my kids still use netbooks, but my kids are kids.
You have to have small fingers, yeah.
Yeah, I could never use. I always kind of wanted to carry something that thin and light, but now I can, and it's just a full size computer. I think Ultrabooks make a lot of sense overall.
I'm kind of interested in that Asus Transformer.
Yeah, me too. That seemed to me like the one that I was the most interested in was the Asus. Yeah.
But does that run? That runs Android and Windows 8. Is that right? One of them. One of them they introduced.
It's very confusing,
both, right? I know.
Yeah, but there also are Windows 8 tablet docked tablets. This is Johnny Shee, who's the CEO.
I think for most people, a hybrid, convertible, or whatever, it makes the most sense. I think that for a lot of people, having a tablet that you carry around will be fine, and that if you could dock it when you get home or to work, and it becomes a full computer, that's going to work for a lot of people. Unfortunately for me, I'm probably always going to carry something that today we would call an Ultrabook. It may have a touch screen on it in the future. It may flip around and be convertible or hybrid or whatever, but the keyboard has to be part of it for me. It can't be something optional, and it needs to be a good keyboard. I feel sort of bad about that, that I can't be more normal in that way.
Well, the part I care more about is the battery. And that's what we didn't really hear that much about, real battery life numbers on these things. And I worry about that. I'm like, okay, I care way more about the battery.
Yeah, some did say, and some of them were crazy battery life. The actual spec for Ultrabook is not that great, surprisingly, with the battery life. It only has to achieve 5 hours of battery life to meet the spec.
Boy, you'd think they'd want to go for that. That's the thing.
Well, I think a lot of them have more than that.
Yeah. I want 12 hours, but I guess I'd settle for 8 or 9. I'd like to be able to fly to Sydney.
Yeah, sure.
Now he's got something under that black tarp there. There's something going on over there. We gotta. They spent a lot of time talking about the concept of the home CIO and cloud computing and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and I can assure you, no one cares about Asus cloud storage.
Yes, switch seamlessly between Windows and Android. That's the transformer AIO. That is weird.
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah, that's interesting. So. I don't know. You know, I today I travel with an iPad.
Taking it.
Right?
Hey, Johnny, there's a guy stealing it behind you there.
Look up behind you. You know, when you carry an Ultrabook and an iPad, those are two very light devices. It's easy to carry that kind of thing. I could picture carrying a Windows RT tablet in the future instead of an iPad.
Right.
I'm not really sure why I would want a tablet that could switch between Android and Windows. You know,
yeah, I don't get that. Well, that's the whole point of Windows RT.
I thought that was weird. Yeah, that part was weird.
I think that's weird. And it's almost like, hey, we make both of these. Why don't we jam them together?
Right. Right.
The other really weird one was the Tai Chi, that one with the other screen on the cover. So you have two screens.
Oh, that's
Did you see that one?
Here's their Windows 8 tablet with they call it a mobile dock.
Yep.
So it's like a convertible, except that
it's like a clip-on keyboard base.
Yeah. I have something like that from
we'll
Logitech for the iPad.
Yeah, right. And I think that varying degrees of quality there, obviously.
Right.
This reminds me of the old Compaq, HP Compaq Touch, what do you call it, tablet PC, the original one.
Right.
Where the keyboard was kind of a clip-on thing and was sort of unstable, actually. But, I mean, these look like more traditional laptops when they put them together.
Is this the Tai Chi, Mary Jo?
No, the Tai Chi is the one where there's a screen on the cover that faces somebody. So if you're sitting across a table from someone and you
can
put
share
it up, you can both see a screen on your facing you. Basically,
I have to say, 16:9 tablets just look weird to me.
Yeah,
I guess I'll get used to it, but we're so used to the 4:3 aspect.
Did you see there was one of the Ultrabooks I saw was a 21:9 screen?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's even weirder.
Really strange.
Really wide.
I have to say, I'm starting to come around with you on the widescreen tablet thing because I have this prototype Samsung, that Microsoft
here's the Tai Chi
loaned me, and it's just a little weird. It is a little weird when you use it in portrait.
So this beautiful young lady is sitting at a table. Oh, there she's disappeared. Sorry, she's going away. Oh, Lil Wayne's still singing. I apologize. Let me close. Oh, crap. I got too many things running at once.
Goes bad.
Lil Wayne, stop playing, Lil Wayne. Stop. I beg of you. We almost had horrible things. I don't know how to stop him. He's
nobody does, Leo.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it?
Right click.
Right click. Right click. Stop. Oh, thank you. See, if I need a pocket Paul.
I should write a book.
Something that I could put in my pocket. That could let me okay, back to the Tai Chi here. Look at this. So this is it looks like a little Ultrabook.
Look at this beautiful black mirror finish. Indeed.
I can't think of anyone who would have been better at introducing this than this guy.
Let's go back to Lil Wayne.
And here's my creepy Uncle Ned.
Whoa! Whoa! It's also a tablet. Wow.
I'd rather have a separate tablet. I just don't. I don't want to screen on the
Let me go back. So this is essentially. Yeah, I see. So this is Johnny again. Johnny Sheet.
Zenbook?
Yeah.
No, this is not.
This guy's such a character.
Yes, he's unreal.
So he closes what looks like a ZenBook.
Yeah.
Running Windows 8.
Yep.
Look at this beautiful black mirror finish.
By the way, the entire hour-long presentation, these flashes are going off like crazy.
Yep.
It's just crazy.
90% of it is Engadget, I bet.
I think it's staged.
It does.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
As promised, incredible innovation.
Look at this. Crazy.
And its possibilities. So as you can see.
Now we can see like he's browsing porn sites because it's
he's looking at
on the outside
it's
of
like
the
he's
laptop.
reading something on the laptop.
The perfect fusion of notebook and tablet.
If you were to throw these two devices in a blender, this is exactly
This is
what it
kind
would
of feels like what they're doing is like, well, let's just try a bunch of stuff.
I don't understand why the convertible screen where it flips around isn't fine for this, right? Like, why?
Right.
Why would you want?
And it's got to add, $500 to the cost.
Plus,
right?
the two screens look completely different.
Well, that's RT. Is the other side Windows 8?
I know.
That would be interesting. Somebody in the chat room says
one's not Windows RT, right? They're both Windows 8, I think.
That looks like 7.
Well, right, but it's just the desktop.
Oh, okay. Huh.
But you know what I was sad about with Computex, I got to say? I was sad we didn't get to see people actually do real hands-on with the Windows RT tablets.
Yeah.
Right.
They were all showing people.
There were canned demos from the vendors showing you, here's what it would be like to browse on a Windows RT tablet. I want to see
if only it exists.
Review. I think they exist, but it's like, come on, let somebody do a review,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to happen eventually.
Someday.
It's just too early, right?
It shouldn't be that early.
When will then be now, Leo?
I know. They keep saying the Windows RT tablets are going to launch at the same time
that was
as
actually
Windows 8.
My favorite line from the Xbox media briefing at E3. The guy kept saying, and it's just going to keep on getting better, or something like that. And I kept saying, like, why can't it be better now? Why are you saving your best work?
Yeah, don't save it. Just
just do it now.
Just be crazy. Throw it all out right now. The incredible fusion of notebook and tablet, the Asus TWiT.
It is incredible. I'll give them that.
It's hard to believe.
Unusual.
It is
hard to believe.
I find myself not believing this.
It is kind of. I mean, it's a manufacturing. It's an interesting manufacturing problem. I mean,
I'm guessing that the lid is twice as thick as usual.
It doesn't look it. He says it's exactly as thin. It's going to run a Core Intel Core CPU SSD, dual FHD IPS panels. So the IPS is the LCD panel, and I don't know what the FHD is, what that stands for. And dual cameras, full HD. Got it. So the other side, the other side will have a 1920 display. Wow,
interesting.
So it's the same backlight, I guess, right?
I guess.
I don't know.
Again, I just want to point out a single screen where the thing flipped around and clipped back down on the keyboard. To me,
would do it. But that's too much work, Paul. We have to actually flip it around. By the way, I think they're thicker because of that, right? Because they have the hinge and all that. Plus, we've seen those for years.
They're boring.
I'm sure that's part of it. Let's do something different.
It is different.
They're going to get a lot of attention, right? Now, can you pull it off, or is it locked onto the keyboard? You must be able. It must be locked on.
It's locked.
Yeah. So they make the ones that you have a magnet attached, so it's a tablet that docks to it.
It's like a dock,
Right.
Those to me are more interesting. The dock ones, okay.
Yep.
But
because you could throw that whole thing in your bag. If you're stuck in coach or something, you could pull out just the top and watch a movie on there. Mary Jo could work on a beer recipe, whatever she does. It's not movie.
I'm actually. It's funny. I mean, this is a kind of a kludgy solution, but that's exactly what I do with the iPad. This is a Logitech. What looks like a case on the iPad. It's no thicker. Open it up. You pry off the thing, and it's got a magnet there, and it becomes a keyboard and a stand. That actually, this is the first keyboard that makes any sense to me for the iPad, anyway.
The problem is it doesn't have a wrist rest. I mean, I think the nice thing about the Windows,
mouse. I mean, you still touch.
Yeah. Well, I'm just from a form factor perspective. I mean, I think that. The nice thing about Windows 8 and RT, and maybe an advantage over the iPad, unless Apple announces something to the contrary soon, is that this kind of thing is formalized. That we're going to have a lot of these devices that flip around and convert and do all these different things. And I think that the choice there is going to make a big difference. I don't think that Asus thing we just saw it's going to be one of the good ones. But I think there's some good choices. Yeah, it's interesting.
Asus is a big enough company at this point that they can throw a lot of stuff against the wall and just see what sticks, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have an Asus ZenBook. It's fantastic.
They make excellent stuff at this point. They've become, they've gone from a second tier to a first tier.
I told you my car company analogy, right? That if you had gone back in time to the 1980s and said, what do you think about these car companies? And it would be like Kia,
right?
Hyundai,
right.
Whatever. They would have had no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Now they're beautiful. They make beautiful cars.
Yeah.
These Korean PC manufacturers are very much like that. Asus and Acer. Acer's been around for a while, but Acer certainly, and Asus, and Samsung is another one where they just weren't around in the PC space, at least not in the United States, just a couple of years ago.
That's right. They've really they've broken through.
Yeah.
We mentioned the 600 million Windows licenses. That puts into context what Ballmer said a couple of weeks ago. 500 million Windows 8 licenses by the first year. It took Windows 7 how many years to get to 600 million?
Well, but Ballmer was misquoted.
That number was wrong.
Okay. So we shouldn't repeat it. All right.
No. But yeah, 600 million. It's pretty amazing.
That's Facebook numbers, baby.
Yeah, and I think they're going to keep selling Windows 7 pretty well. I mean, they're especially among businesses who still are in the midst of deploying Windows 7. So that number is still going to go up. Even once Windows 8 launches, that number is still going to keep going and going.
It's amazing. And another milestone, 100,000 Windows Phone apps.
Mary Jo added a caveat to that.
I did. I added sort of.
What?
Yeah, well, so
you're a
it's
buzzkill, Mary Buzzkill
I am
Joe.
a total buzzkill. But you know why?
If that's an iPhone, you wouldn't have written sort of.
Come on. No, you know why I'm being precise about this because, as everybody knows, I am a Windows Phone user and fan, and I want them to say 100,000 when it's a real 100,000. And right now, it's not. This includes apps that have been unpublished from the marketplace, right? So the real number is like 80,000.
That isn't really very fair. Yeah,
still pretty good. And when they hit 100,000, I'll be the first one to write that story. But it's not really there yet. Almost.
It's coming soon to it.
I have to think Microsoft will have a little blog post about that when it happens too.
So they haven't said anything. This number was not their number.
No.
Okay. Windows Azure.
Finally,
look
we're
forward
back
to
that.
Yes. This is why we're going to get
is
Mary Jo.
Is there a video game angle to this story?
We're going to get Mary Jo a show of her own. Somewhere we can move the Windows Azure stories.
Come on, there's a lot of Windows Azure fans.
No. I'm just teasing. You know that. I love enterprise computing.
You're getting there. You've come a long way, Leo.
I have.
In appreciating the enterprise.
I have.
Computing.
I can say the word Azure now.
You can.
Yeah.
That's good.
Are you sure?
Sure. Sure. I am sure.
So this week, besides being big for games and for hardware for Windows, it also was huge for the cloud and not just for Microsoft. So yesterday, on June 6th, Oracle announced their whole big cloud strategy finally after years of ridiculing the cloud and Larry Ellison saying there's no such thing as cloud. So then they came out with this huge cloud announcement yesterday. And so, of course, Microsoft was going to one-up that. And they had a whole slew of Azure announcements ready that they're actually officially making these announcements today. But they pre-announced them yesterday. And it was all the stuff that I had been hearing and that we've been talking about on the show for a few weeks. So they announced finally Linux in virtual machines on Azure. And there's four different Linux. I called it. And there's four different Linux distributions available, which I didn't call. So it's even better than I thought it was. So they have SUSE on there. They have CentOS on there. And they've got, what else have they got? Ubuntu is on there. So they get a lot of different choices for you if you want to bring your Linux image over to Windows Azure now.
CentOS is very popular among server guys. That seems to be an operating system they really like to use. Ubuntu is popular for the desktop.
Is it as good as Mint Linux, Leo?
Well, it is Mint Linux, actually, Paul. It's let's do a Linux show, Paul. You and me.
Linux on TWiT.
You know, people have been begging me for a Linux show for ages.
Have they really?
Oh, yeah.
Begging you?
Yeah.
Make them beg, Leo.
It's the same four people, but they've been begging, let me tell you.
What else did they announce yesterday? They announced the Antares web hosting framework that we've talked about on the show before, which is now officially known as Windows Azure Websites. Antares was a better name, but that's the official name. And so what's cool about that is it's going to let a lot of companies who are doing open source frameworks and platform as a service platforms just bring their platforms right over to Azure. So they can use this as like an underlying layer and they can slide right over to Azure now, and they can slide their customers who are on other clouds also right over to Azure. So one company I talked to this week called AppFog, they already have stuff available on AWS. So their idea is you have a one-button push, basically, and if you're already hosting on AWS and you want to try Azure, you just use their platform on top of this new framework from Microsoft, and you can try it out and see how it works for you before you commit to it. So there's lots of real good stuff in this whole spring update on Windows Azure. And they're going to be talking about it more for people who are listening today on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So right after Windows Weekly is over, you can go to meetwindowsazure.com and watch 3 more hours of just Azure. A whole 3-hour webcast on Azure.
Let's just, I think we should just interrupt the show right now and just go to meetwindowsazure.com. And we can all watch together, I think. Streaming, it's not till, rats.
Not till 4.
It's not till, yeah. Oh,
with
too
Scott
bad.
Scott Guthrie, the infamous red-shirted Scott Goo, will be the host. So
That's neat.
Yep, it's going to be good. So yeah, lots of good cloud stuff from Microsoft this week, and I expect even more to come. But this was the whole spring update that they've been teasing people
We could
about.
Cancel iPad today and just run this.
You could.
Yeah.
Just watch
I'm listening.
Why not? 3 hours of Azure goodness.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, wow is the right word for
Do you
that
think
one.
this would be okay? Let's be honest. People watch this because they must, right?
Some people love this.
Okay, good.
Some
just
people
checking.
love
All
this
right.
stuff.
So people,
Yep,
there are
I
people
know.
who go, "Oh, I am so happy they're going to do a full 3 hours this time."
Yep.
Because last
You're gonna
time,
demo.
2 hours was just not enough. I want more.
Are they going to try to make it more personable?
I hate it when they do
definitely.
that. No, don't do
Is that
that.
the plan?
No. We've decided with the Enterprise show to make it just dry as we can.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
a strategy.
No.
Oh, and I should mention for all the Python and Ruby and Node fans who are listening
you got
to Windows
my
Week.
attention. Yes.
I knew I did.
Yes.
That now you also can bring your own favorite stack and your own favorite tools to Windows Azure. So it's getting pretty interesting. It's like open source is really permeating Windows Azure. Who would have thought that even just a year ago? Probably
I
not
like
many.
that. I think that's great. I think that's
it's
great. Yeah. So that starts at 1 o'clock Pacific time. If you want to join that, that's just half an hour from now. 4 p.m. Eastern.
I will probably be a little busy.
No, I think you have to watch it, Paul. I don't think you really. It's not optional.
I'll just read Mary Jo's write-up.
There you go. Or you know what? Go to allaboutmicrosoft.com and you can read all about
There'll
it.
be more.
Read all about it. So we're going to continue on in just a little bit. Paul Thurrott from the SuperSite for Windows and Mary Jo Foley from allaboutmicrosoft.com. Before we go further, though, perhaps it would be a good moment to bring up. I know you're all excited about Antares, but for those of you who don't want to run an Azure server, perhaps you'd be interested in Squarespace. This is web hosting for those who don't want to worry or think about web hosting. This is website design, maintenance, and updating for those who don't want to worry about it, who just want a great site that runs securely, quick as a little bug in a rug. That's not very quick. Quick as what? Quick as a bunny. Thank you, Fraser. Yeah, quick as a bunny. Squarespace.com. We can't bring these sites down. We keep trying. And that's one of the things I love about it. It is really good hosting. People often say, who's the best web host? Now, this is a little different than, say, going to a shared server situation, because this includes not just the hosting, but also the software, the content management system on top of it. And it is really good. It's kind of hard for me to go through all of the features. There's so many. For instance, if you want to try it for 2 weeks, you can import your existing movable type WordPress typepad or Blogger site right in, and by the way, right out. You're never trapped. It's 100% two-way, and it brings all the links. The SEO is unchanged, images, even comments, all perfectly brought into your site. So then you can start messing with it. There's so many great templates and styles. You're going to want to do that, including over 300 fonts from Google Web Fonts, social media integration with widgets from Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Flickr, and more. Photo galleries, forms, all this stuff is available, and it's just so sweet. I want you to try it right now. Go to squarespace.com, click the Try It Free button. Now, here's the deal. If you decide after 2 weeks, hey, this site's pretty good, I'd like to keep it around, they have simplified their pricing, and it really is, at this point, it's a no-brainer. With the annual plan, $8 a month for the basic, for the unlimited, $16 a month. $16 a month, you get unlimited pages, unlimited bandwidth. I don't know how do they do that. Unlimited storage. You want to do, a podcast? This would be a great deal for you. $16 a month with unlimited bandwidth and storage. Unbelievable. And if you use our offer code, you're going to get 10% off that first purchase. So it's even less. All you have to do is use the offer code Windows 6. Windows 6 is the offer code. Squarespace.com. It's the secret behind amazing websites. Everything you need to build an exceptional website, and 10% off. Oh, and I forgot to mention, when you buy an annual plan, they'll also give you a free domain name registration and hook it up so that you have a custom site, custom domain. Squarespace.com. We really love it. Try it today. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley, running scared from Microsoft Office. Oh, that's Google that's doing that. This is an interesting. I could not figure this out. Quick Office, which I use on, I think I used it on BlackBerry. It's been around a long time. Allowed me to open Microsoft Office documents, Word, Excel, PowerPoint on smartphones.
That's why you get it.
Yeah, but why would Google want this? Are they going to be supporting Office?
Well, Google offers a certain level of Microsoft Office compatibility in Google Docs or whatever they're calling it.
Oh, so this would be for Google Docs.
Well, I think this is more of I think they're going to keep it as the mobile app that it is. It works on iOS and Android. But hopefully they can use the Office document compatibility stuff in their service. I would assume that's part of the deal.
Right.
Although, the funny thing is, did I mention this in the show notes? I can't find it. Yeah, so they call this company the leader in mobile office productivity. In fact, this company refers to itself in that same way. And I looked online on the App Store, and they're not even anywhere near the top as far as sales go. But, Documents to Go seems like the more obvious choice. For this
they're bigger. But that's a company that does a lot more. That's DataViz.
Yeah, sure.
So that's another matter. That's they do other stuff. Maybe it was too. I don't know. Maybe it was too expensive. Google's been in tough times lately. Maybe that they.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, they couldn't afford the extra $1.50 for the actual leader. One thing, and I think this is part of the big strategy. One thing that Quick Office offers is Symbian support.
You think that's a big part?
I think it's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, getting Google Docs on Symbian finally.
We got that going for us.
It's not about Microsoft. Not about Microsoft maybe doing Office for the iPad and Android.
Oh.
Not about that
This is
at all.
preemptive. You think it's preemptive?
If you look at the Office productivity on iOS, right, top 5 apps, 3 of them are Apple apps, right? The Pages, Numbers, and Keynote.
Right.
As you would expect, right?
Yeah.
But you have to think, if Microsoft Office apps were available on there, they would be the top. They would be the top apps. Of course, they would. Instantly, they would be the top apps.
We keep hearing rumors about Office on the iPad. The latest was it's for sure, right? But Microsoft's never said.
I think the last rumor I heard was that Outlook was the first one, and I remember that was kind of an oddball comment at the time because it kind of went contrary to what we were thinking previously, but. This is the rumor that refuses to die. Everyone seems to think this is
Business
happening.
Insider said Sunday that a source familiar with the Office sales team said the product to be announced at the SharePoint conference, which is...
When is that?
November in Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, November has been the rumored Office 15 launch date for a while. But the real question to me is, are they going to announce all of it at once, right? Are they going to do, here's Office for Windows 8 and for iPad and for Android on the same day, or are they going to give Office a little head start?
I think
give Windows a head start.
If you there's been a lot of documentation leaks around Office 15. Nothing around Office for iPad, but one of the big themes that they have in there is this notion of they really want to do everything at once this time. So it seems like if they are going to do Office for the iPad or whatever, iOS or Android, yeah, wouldn't it be part of that launch wave, that same time period? And it's looking increasingly like the very end of the year, isn't it? Or maybe early next year?
It's looking like RTM for Office 2013, as it's probably going to be called, is November, and launch is early next year.
Well, this all kind of is coalescing. So if they wanted to give a head start for Office on Windows RT, that's probably October, right? So they'd have a month head start. They announce in November at the ShareFile conference for iPad. And they say, and Office 13 is coming early next year. Yeah. Is ShareFile, SharePoint? ShareFile's our advertiser. Is SharePoint the right time, the SharePoint conference, to announce this? Is that, certainly they are Office users.
Well, SharePoint 15 will come out at the same time as Office 15. So maybe it would.
No, they used to have TechEd Europe was in November, and you'd have to think that would have been an ideal thing. But actually, they rescheduled it this year for June.
Yep.
So there are no other. Well, this is
it. This is your last shot, last chance.
Yeah.
Or you do it at Build 2.0, whatever that is.
Right. Don't forget connections.
There's always an event, isn't there?
Right.
There's always an event.
SharePoint conference. And when's the Exchange conference this year?
September.
September. Okay.
Yeah, that's a September. So yeah, that's another one because Exchange 15 also is on the same timeline, but I don't think they're going to be ready to announce final Exchange 15. Although I'm kind of remembering Exchange always comes out a little earlier than all the other apps for servers. So maybe Exchange will be done.
There's no reason they can't announce stuff, for each component at different times,
True. One of our folks is saying on Twitter, who's listening in, that Documents to Go by DataViz is actually owned by RIM.
Oh, jeez.
So maybe that's why Google
that would explain it. There you go. There you go. We can't buy RIM. Well, of course, they have a fire. You know what? They're waiting for the fire sale.
I know.
They're going to snap it up because I think RIM is going to start selling off.
Soon RIM is going to be the Canadian subsidiary of TWiT Network.
I'm buying RIM. And if Google would like to extend an offer for Documents to Go, I'd be glad to entertain it. That's interesting. That's interesting. So buy RIM for $1 and get Documents to Go for free. Maybe that's what's next.
It's like the free ring you get in a box of cereal.
The rumor was they spent $100 million on Quick Office. Right?
$100 million.
That's a lot.
Wow. Really? Wow.
Well, maybe I might be wrong, or the rumor might be wrong, but that is a lot of money. But Google can afford it. They're loaded.
It's a lot of money for an app that sells for $10 to $15 a shot.
Yeah, but again, it's not about. I think it's not about the app. I think you guys are right. I think this is all about.
I think it's about
compatibility in apps.
Yeah. I would think it has to be.
Yeah. And you know what? You might be right that they may be just waiting, and Documents to Go might be next.
The one big complaint that is certainly valid against Google Docs is that you can't push a Word document into there, muss around with it, and then send it back to Word and have it look like anything like it used to. I mean, it really does have a bad back and forth picture there, whereas Microsoft stuff obviously works very well in that regard.
Right.
If you stick to Google Docs, if that's all you use, obviously that works fine.
But this has always been a problem on mobile, is using Office, except for on Windows Phone.
Yeah.
It's always been an issue. In fact, I think it's the number one reason people buy Windows Phone is because they use Microsoft Office and they want 100% compatibility.
A lot of, in the old days, Palm and others used to bundle Documents to Go Lite something specifically for this reason.
Yep. Boy, this was an interesting story. Talk about a flip-flop. Microsoft got a lot of attention. We spent time talking about it ourselves yesterday on This Week in Google by announcing that IE10 would have Do Not Track on by default. Then,
I wish we had recorded this a day earlier because this.
Well, let's pretend. Let's pretend. Okay, that's the story, and then I'll say this just in.
Because for once, I could have just said, you know what, they're doing the right thing. God bless them. Good. For once, Microsoft is taking the stand
to do the right
against advertisers and for users. Beautiful. Good for them. Then it was like, wah, wah, wah.
And Microsoft must have known this was going to happen. The standards body said, well, no.
Well, by the way, standards body is a bit of a stretch. The industry group made up exclusively of advertisers
said by consulting with our stakeholders.
I mean, seriously.
Which means
anyone like this idea?
When we asked Google, they said, over our dead bodies, basically.
Unbelievable.
This is the argument over Do Not Track. And personally, I think Do Not Track is way
Here's the
overblown.
problem.
You've heard me say this.
But Do Not Track is terrible. And the reason it's terrible is that it requires advertisers to opt in. They have to respect the browser setting.
Right.
Which means that most advertisers, or many, will not do that. And now that this kind of consortium or cabal or whatever you want to call these people of advertisers has gotten together and changed the spec so that this thing has to be opt-in, that it has to be disabled by default. Microsoft only has two choices. They could just continue doing what they were going to do.
Which means everybody would ignore it.
They'll just ignore it. It's useless. It shouldn't even be there.
Yep.
Or they could do what some have suggested to me, which I think is an interesting idea, which is, the first time you run the browser, something pops up.
There you go.
So it's disabled,
but
you have a little wizard you can step through.
That's what they'll do.
That's probably what they're going to have to do.
Google's never going to do it in Chrome because Google's business is tracking ads. As ads. Now, I don't think ad tracking is at all the problem that people have blown it up into. And you're an example, Paul. Your site is supported by ad networks. So it wouldn't affect me, by the way. But your site is supported by ad networks. It would affect you.
Right, but I still think it's the right thing to do. It's not about displaying ads, right? We're not talking about like blocking ads.
No.
We're talking about ads that track you across the internet after you leave a site.
Ad networks that serve to, like, for instance,
this is insidious Big Brother stuff,
Google.
Right? This is when people talk. No, it is. When people talk about big data type things, right? You've heard the classic example of big data gone wrong, right? Where the guy or whoever it is signs into Facebook one day and has a friend recommendation, and they don't recognize the person,
right?
And they're like, well, Facebook must have given me this for a reason, so I will accept it. And then when they accept it, they find out that the person that they just friended is also married to their spouse, and that this person is a polygamist, and that's how...
Nothing wrong with that. I think that's
how Facebook made this
Facebook's done him a favor.
Okay.
That actually something very similar did happen, actually. That's a true story.
Right, it's a true story. It's a true story.
It's a weird true story, but it's a true story.
Hopefully doesn't happen to a lot of people. But anyway, obviously that's kind of scary. And I think there's an insidious nature to this stuff that tracks you as you move around the internet stuff. You can see hints of it in the, in Gmail when those weird ads pop up that are sort of related to what you're talking about. I get a lot of emails. Actually, this one might be fascinating to you. I get a lot of email from people who want quotes on my Windows services, right? They want quotes on Windows that I apparently sell, okay? Now, I can only guess that I get these weird emails because I write about Windows. But you know what I got the other day for the first time?
What?
And think about this. This is crazy. I got a similar email from someone who wanted a quote on tiles, right? Because
you were talking
Windows
about
is
tiles.
switching to tiles. What the hell is that?
Would you like some fine Venetian ceramic glass tiles?
Yep. I always write these guys back, and I'm saying, I'm happy to help you. Just send me your credit card information, and we'll get that started.
I get weird ads. Look at this is the ad I'm getting right now. This is, believe it or not, looking at the ad, you wouldn't know what that is, but it's actually for steel power equipment. It's for drills and stuff from some company that is so far away that I really wouldn't go there even if I wanted a weed whacker.
It looks like the image you'd see on a calendar in an auto body shop.
I think it probably is.
But I used to get ads for watches because I did Microsoft Watch. My ads would show up as watches.
But that's my point, is that this is a company that does tracking ads better than anyone. They know more about you than anybody, Paul. And it's so ineffective. It's so horrible. They just don't work. And what your complaint really is that they're not tracking you well enough.
I didn't really think of it that way.
But think about it. You would like ads that are more appropriate, not less appropriate.
Actually, what I really want is not to have ads.
Well, that's okay. And that's what I'm saying. The whole do not track thing really comes down to people don't want ads, period.
Sure.
That's really what they're saying. And I'm sorry, people want free media, free services like Facebook, but they don't want ads. It doesn't work.
Right.
So that's why I think do not track is missing the point. There are far worse privacy invasions than tracking cookies. Part of it is because somebody chose the word tracking cookies, which is so loaded. Sounds like somebody's following you around.
Right.
It's just to say, you already saw that ad 4 times. We're not going to show it to you on the 5th site you visit. Things like that. That's what you want.
So, are you a member of this?
No, I'm not. I actually don't use tracking ads. We actually avoided that whole process by targeting our content.
Wait, hold on.
I'm looking.
Are you okay?
Sorry.
What's going on?
The
What's the
window.
matter? I've heard a lot of sirens lately.
And I think somebody was trying to jump off the building.
That's what I thought.
Me.
That's what I thought. I heard a lot of sirens. Yeah.
I looked out and I saw a cop grabbing a guy off the roof across from me and pulling him inside. Okay, sorry, got a little distracted.
That's why Mary Jo does not need a TV set.
Sleeping in the corner of your room or something.
Holy cow!
I just looked out the window. I was like, "What the heck?" Okay.
Who needs a TV?
My mother would have said, if you're not careful, your face is going to freeze like that.
That was pretty funny, Paul. I'm glad you caught that.
I was like, oh my God, a guy is like being pulled in by a cop.
Well, we heard all the sirens, moments ago.
Yeah. Ooh, okay.
Wow.
Back to Windows Azure. I mean,
you were right, Mary Jo, when you said you moved to New York, I don't need a TV.
I don't. It's true. There's always live entertainment right out there. The guy is inside safely.
Thank you.
No one
Thank you. Did you see that on Twitter? You should tweet that right now, Mary Jo. Just if you want a moment to tweet that, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Yikes.
Hey, buddy, get in here. What are you doing? You're messing up traffic there. Wow. That is wild.
It's funny.
Sorry.
Moving right along to something even more exciting. This just in. Google has announced, actually it's not Google, it's the open source Chromium project has announced. There will be a Metro Chrome.
I looked at it and installed it, but I guess it's not out yet. So apparently if you install the dev version of Chrome, what do they call it? The dev channel version, then the next update will include a Metro version. And then you can...
This makes a mockery of Firefox's complaint that Microsoft are just dominating by the Chrome and the Metro or the browser. So if you could do it,
Mozilla was built on that kind of complaining. I mean, that was the whole point of the company, wasn't it? Well, Microsoft made us go to business.
Mozilla's complaint, though, it wasn't it about desktop though, and so this has nothing to do with desktop.
This is a Metro. Like but that's the answer to Firefox. Is you don't like it, make a Metro version of Firefox.
Yeah,
well,
which
no,
they
but
are
what
doing,
they're saying
right?
is they are doing. I mean, there's going to be a Metro version of Firefox. I think their complaint was simply that it will never be
desktop.
Right. I get
it. It won't be as good as the IE version.
So this says that back in March we began work on a Metro-style enabled desktop browser, a version of Chrome that runs in both Metro and desktop environments of Windows 8. That's interesting. Chrome, by the way, will not run, and he makes a little mistake of calling it WinRT. I just like to explain that is not what we're calling the tablet operating system. That is, in fact, the Windows runtime environment. We're calling it Windows RT.
All right, back off.
He's going all enterprise.
I just think WinRT.
Let's keep the pedantic stuff to Twitter.
I think you're confusing the two.
You, sir, obviously don't know what you're talking about.
So, on Windows RT, Microsoft isn't allowing browsers other than IE. So that's a reasonable complaint.
Well, they're not allowing desktop browsers.
Right. You can still do a Metro browser for WinRT, but there's a whole thing about can it be the default browser? No. Right.
So so he's wrong. This whole sentence is wrong.
We think. We
it's got a
think
curious
so,
use of commas as well, but
and comma blunders. So when we're saying,
let's move past the grammar.
When we're saying Chromium, which is the open source version of Chrome for Metro, it really is a desktop Chromium with Metro features that will run in the Metro on Windows 8 desktop, but don't get your hopes up for Windows 8 tablet.
Okay.
Just wanted to clarify.
It's not out yet, so
that's what he said.
Updated.
He said we can't do it on the tablet. Microsoft won't let us.
On WinRT, yeah.
On Windows RT.
Windows RT, sorry.
Just to be precise.
It's weird that anyone would be confused about
I don't know why you're confused, Paul. It's perfectly clear.
Couldn't they have just called it yogurt or something? Why must they name it this way?
It really is a mess.
It's stupid.
It's the same as Apple not giving a number to the new iPad. It just means that everybody, us, everything we say has to be parenthetically, by which we mean the ARM version of Windows 8 on tablet.
Oh, the fun we're going to have when a new iPad comes out. Yeah. And this new iPad is no longer the all-new iPad.
By which we mean the third version of the iPad, designated the new iPad, but no longer the new iPad, now the old iPad.
Yes.
All right. Do you have an Audible pick? Oh, you do, because this is actually this is a sad day for people who are Ray Bradbury fans. So let's talk about Audible.com. Audible is a bookstore, wonderful online bookstore of audiobooks, a great sponsor of ours since practically the beginning of TWiT. And we're just, Paul and I, and in fact, many of the TWiT hosts are big Audible fans. I think it's natural if you work in audio that you love audio. And I'm telling you, when I'm driving, walking the dog, doing the laundry, working out, I love to listen to audiobooks. And there's so many great choices, over 100,000. This would be a good Father's Day gift, an Audible subscription, actually. Yeah. And, of course, Ray Bradbury passed away at the age of 91 this week. One of the great, and I don't want to call him a science fiction author. I don't think he considers himself.
I was literally going to just comment on that. Yeah. He gets pigeonholed for whatever reason. And, you know, like Stephen King is a horror writer, and even though he writes other stuff. And Ray Bradbury has written comedy and drama and horror, actually.
Right.
He was an amazing
The Martian Chronicles, Fahrenheit 451.
I just feel bad that he lived long enough to see the John Carter movie, but
that might be what killed him. Actually, come to think of it,
actually, the one thing that movie got right was in their advertising for it, they talked about how before there was the Lord of the Rings, before there was Star Wars, there was this, and actually, yes, that's absolutely true. Yeah.
Dandelion wine. So I think all of these are on Audible. I don't know what's missing.
The only thing I wanted to point out, obviously the classics are all there. Fahrenheit 451, The Martian Chronicles, Something Wicked This Way Comes, Illustrated Man, on and on and on. There are two versions of The Martian Chronicles. If you're interested in that, it might be his, one of his more impressive books.
There's a radio dramatization. Is that the full text?
Yeah, so there's two versions. There's that one, which is a radio dramatization, but there's also one that's read by the author.
Ray Bradbury reads it. That's cool.
Yeah, there's a different version of it too. So it'd be worth looking at both. And
same with Fahrenheit 451. You can get John Hurt reading it, which would be awesome, or Ray Bradbury reading it. Well, here's one of the nice things about Audible. You can listen to a sample of any of the books right on the webpage at audible.com. Sometimes when authors read, it's not great. Sometimes it is great because you hear their voice.
It depends on the author, yeah. He certainly has an interesting voice.
Let me just play a little bit, and we'll just see what it's going to sound like.
The next story is another excursion, another collision of souls between Earthmen and Martians, rising out of the thought that has often crossed a lot of our minds, hasn't it? What if we should hear a knocking on the door some night and we open it and a Martian were standing there?
So this is interesting because there is more than narration. There's him talking.
Yeah.
So that would be worth it. Now, the quality of the sample I just played is not the final quality of what you're going to download. This is available in all the audio formats, including the enhanced format, which is CD quality. I always get everything enhanced format because space is not a premium. This was written in 1946.
I know.
Amazing. Amazing.
I had a conversation with someone recently about the sort of science fiction writers that really influenced me growing up. Ray Bradbury obviously was number one, but Isaac Asimov, of course, with the Foundation and the Robots books.
These guys,
Larry Niven, Jerry Pournelle. I mean, this group is just. But it all goes back to Ray Bradbury. I mean, he's really kind of the first. Well, actually, it kind of goes back to H.G. Wells. But then Ray Bradbury is next, I would say. It's kind of that's the progression.
And Bradbury, unlike a lot of sci-fi, he's a great writer. I mean, this guy was a brilliant writer. I mean, this stuff is poetry. So good pick.
Don't see the movie, but definitely read the book.
I love it.
By the way, do either of you guys know where Audible for Windows Phone is? I have questions.
Paul's got it.
I have it. I just got a new build of it. I get asked this question on Twitter almost every single day. I don't know why it's not out yet. All I can tell you is that it appears to be done to me. I don't understand what the holdup is. I actually just risked the tomfoolery of my friends. We're going out tonight, and I'm actually going to walk home and listen to an Audible book on my Windows Phone. So
it works.
This is confusing to people, but anyway, yes, it does work, and it works well. So I don't know why it hasn't happened yet, but it's happening. It has been continually updated, and I just literally actually today there was a new build. So
yeah, I'm torn. I use on Android you need to use the Audible app. On iPhone and iPad you can just sync the stuff. So I go both ways.
I like the app though.
I
actually like the app.
Yeah.
The app shows you had a side loading kind of thing you could do, and they don't support the Windows Phone, which is too bad.
The app lets you see everything you've ever purchased, which is one of the things I like about Audible. Anytime you buy a book, what are you laughing at?
Or Joe keeps doing this thing.
She's looking at the jumper. Is he still out there?
More sirens are coming. I'm like, no,
He's
what?
back. What, did he climb back out?
No one's out there.
Oh, all right.
I'll keep bringing reports.
So the app shows you all of everything in the library, which is great, and then you can download. So by the
way, that's a nice looking phone. I have to say, when this thing was introduced, I didn't think anything of it. It didn't seem particularly special, but seeing it now, actually, it's a nice looking phone.
Wait till you see it in person. The screen is gorgeous. So I have over 500 books in my library, and I can listen to any one of them, which is a truly amazing thing. So here's the deal.
Let me ask you one question though. Have you ever done the thing where you can connect your Audible account to your Amazon account?
Yes, I did that already. I am using my Amazon login. It does work fine.
I'm curiously nervous about that. I have so much attached to both. I'm a little weird.
Amazon owns them, so
I know.
By the way, I'm listening now to The Storm of War, which you recommended some time ago. The New History of the Second World War. It's awesome.
That is awesome.
And like you, I'm kind of a buff, and I've read
the reason then you'll love this because you think, okay, I know everything about World War II, but actually, this book's amazing because there's so much more information now. Well, if I'm not mistaken, this is one where they got a lot from the Russian archives. I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of the Russian histories in here. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And so Audible's great for fiction, for nonfiction, for history. If you're a history buff like Paul and I are, politics, self-help, technology, 100,000 titles. The readers are all universally fantastic, although you could listen to a sample, make sure it sounds like what you want. And we're going to set you up with a free book right now. All you have to do is go to audible.com/Windows. You'll be signing up for the Gold account. That's a book a month subscription. That's the subscriptions really are the best way to do this because it's the most affordable. And I promise you will be listening to a book a month at least. So sign up. The first month's free. The first credit is free, and all the books we've just mentioned are 1 credit. Some longer books are more than 1 credit, but almost all the books, probably 90% of the books are single credit. And by the way, you can cancel at any time. Those books are yours to keep forever. I really like that. The best science fiction of 2010, the best mysteries and thrillers of 2010. They have a lot of collections you're going to like. Audible.com/Windows. Yeah, it is an Amazon company, so you can use your Amazon login. And it doesn't affect anything. I use it with the app and all of that. Audible.com/Windows. And we thank them for supporting Windows Weekly. All right, time to wrap things up with your tip of the week, Mr. Paul Thurrott. It's a literature-related tip.
Yeah, this week, for whatever reason, 2 free ebooks came out from Microsoft in PDF format. I guess they'll be made available later in Mobi and EPUB as well. The first is a complete book. It's Introducing Windows Server 2012 from the folks of the Windows Server team. So that's a great one to get. The other one is a preview, so it's the first 4 chapters of what I think is going to be maybe a 14 or 15 chapter book called Programming Windows 8 Apps with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
Ooh.
So I think that what they're going to do is sell this book eventually, not give it away, but you can get I think it's the first 4 chapters now for free, so something to check out. Those are always welcome.
And links are on the SuperSite for Windows, SuperSite.com.
Yep. Yeah, I blogged about both of those.
Software pick of the week. Well, that's an easy one.
Well, not really. So, for the past year or more, I have subscribed to multiple music subscription services, right? So the ones that I've been paying for are Pandora and Spotify and Zune Music Pass. And I've also been using Last.fm only because it happens to work on both the Xbox 360 and the Windows Phone, and obviously on the PC as well. And I was just kind of curious about that one. So I'm not paying for that, but I've been comparing it, just sort of seeing how these things work together. And honestly, after a lot of, not a lot of stress, but I really thinking about it and thinking about the way these things work and everything, I think what I'm going to do is settle on the Zune Music Pass, simply because of the changes they're making, both in Windows, on tablets and the phone, and also on PCs, and also on the Xbox 360. And so you can't really see all of it today, but if assuming they're doing everything I think they're doing, I actually think that for Windows users, and especially for those people who also have Windows phones and Xbox 360, this is the one that's going to work out to be the best. The thing that's kind of strange about this is Pandora and Spotify they're great services actually for what they are. Curiously, neither one of them is available on the 360. I sort of hope that will change, but increasingly I'm using that as the kind of a living room based, media thing. So if you have people over, you want to play music or whatever, we're going through the 360 now and not through the Apple stuff. And so that is what's, it's on there, and it just it actually works really well today. But of course, they're going to be changing the service as well to work even better in the future. So as you were pointing out earlier, it's $9.99 a month, or you can get it for $99 a year. So it's basically 12 months for the price of 10. And it will work. It's not going away. So that's one of those things I verified with Microsoft.
Good.
It doesn't disappear. This is continuing.
Thank you for checking that, actually. That's great.
Yeah.
Mary Jo has a jumper. No, Mary Jo has...
There's now a broken window that they're dealing with over there.
Would you turn the camera around? Maybe we can participate in the excitement.
Yeah, because I don't even want to look down.
We probably don't have enough Zoom. Yeah. So Mary Jo's jumper of the week today is his name is Bob,
the guy from Press Street. Yeah.
It's all because of Windows 8.
I hate Metro.
WinRT.
Actually, it is a Windows 8 related pick, and it's a small business pick of the week, which I guess
that's enterprise.
Can still be enterprise, right? Yeah. So, we've talked already about Microsoft's Windows upgrade program that they started on June 2nd, which if you still are buying Windows 7 PCs between now and early next year, you can get an upgrade offer so you can move to Windows 8 when it's available. So I thought it was interesting. Staples kind of took a twist on this whole thing, and what they did is create a program for small businesses around this. So if you are a small business and you want to buy a PC, a Windows 7 PC, from now until middle of November, and you go to Staples, you get this deal. So you get the Windows 8 upgrade deal, and they give you a $15 Visa prepaid card to cover the $15 you would pay to upgrade to Windows 8.
So it's free.
But even better, for free. And better, though, is they actually, and this will be interesting to see how this works out, they're going to give you free telephone support when Windows 8 comes out. I think they may be misestimating how many people they need to do this, but we'll see.
Wow.
And some training videos online for people so they can start figuring out how to use Metro, et cetera, et cetera. So they're trying to cater to the small business user who may find themselves without any kind of support when Windows 8 comes out and kind of wondering, hey, what do I do now?
This actually makes a lot of sense. If you're going to promote Windows 8 for business, you've got to do these kind of extra, steps. I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
People keep asking me because we've been playing with Windows 8 and so forth. If there will be, and I think we talked about this last week, a training video or something when you were first starting. Didn't you say that there's a debate internally at Microsoft about whether to do that or not?
In some of the bills that we had seen before the release preview, there was actually a short video in there that gave you some quickie, here's how you hit the corner kind of thing. It wasn't very effective, but what I was told before, when I met with Microsoft right before the release preview was that they were examining this and that they had done a bunch of, studies to see where the best place to be was. And this is off the top of my head, but if I remember this conversation correctly, they were saying that the two worst scenarios were no training, which basically required about an hour for most people to figure out the corners and the edges and stuff. But the second worst one was actually heavy training, because it kind of instills this fear in people that there's too much to know, and they get stressed when they can't remember things. And so they're trying to hit something in the middle. They haven't determined yet what form that's going to take exactly, but that's something that they'll figure out between now and RTM.
My experience has been that if you have somebody like you, Paul, who understands and knows and has used it for a while, they can, in 20 minutes, you can show me a bunch of not discoverable stuff that is really useful. For instance, I was trying to open the command line, and somebody in the chat room said, "Well, just start typing CMD," and when you just start typing in the start page, just like on the start menu on Windows 7.
Right.
It searches for it, and
it's not intuitive though when you're at a full screen interface to start typing.
So little things like that I think would make a big difference.
Yeah.
I've done this a lot of times. I mean to use start menu search or start search as we call it now, and I'll be looking at the start screen, and so the first thing I do is hit start, and then I start typing, and of course nothing happens because now I'm on the desktop or whatever, and I think of it as you have to hit start first for that to work. But you don't when you're on the start screen. You just type. You're already there.
Yep. Also, our code name pick of the week, Mary Jo.
I just switched.
This is an old one.
I just switched it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I switched to Apollo. And the reason I switched to Apollo was so that I could talk about Windows Phone Summit.
So Apollo is the next version of Windows Phone.
Apollo is the next version of Windows Phone, Windows Phone 8 operating system. And Microsoft was supposed to have a 2-day developer summit in San Francisco, June 20th and 21st, for which we thought it was going to be the big reveal for developers of Apollo. This week we found out the summit's been cut.
But why did we think that, right?
Why did we think that?
I mean, because it was called the Windows Phone Developer Summit.
Exactly. It had the word developer.
That's kind of a giveaway.
But I'm just saying, they've changed it.
There's a reason.
Right. So now it's called Windows Phone Summit. Without the word developer. It's one day only, June 20th in San Francisco. But I think we can still safely say they're going to talk about Apollo because it says get a sneak peek of the future of Windows Phone, which is Apollo. So the question is, how much are they actually going to tell developers about what they're doing? Because there's a lot of rumors, are they changing the developer tool set? And are they going to make the Windows RT framework the same framework for phone and for Windows RT? There's all these things swirling around, and it'll be really interesting to me to see, are they going to actually address this at this point? Or is this going to be a real high level, like biz dev summit for people who aren't trying to write apps for the phone? So I'm
I
curious.
can tell you that if they don't reveal this stuff, I will. But, yeah, I would assume.
It sounds like a threat, Paul.
What I would like, God, I don't understand the silence on this one. When they made the Visual Studio announcement, they talked about Windows 8 development on Visual Studio 2000. What do they call it? 2012. A special version of Express for that. There are other Express versions. They kind of left out Phone. Now, obviously, there's going to be a Phone Express as well. It will be a new developer environment. And I'm curious, and I hope that they release it in beta form then. I hope that this is not just we're going to talk about it, but here's the beta, because this product is going to be in market by the end of the year. I mean, I'd like to see, them get going on that. Plus,
my pure guess why they're kind of hedging, delaying, and kind of wavering, if they are wavering, in fact, is because they are going to have to finally say, are existing Windows phones upgradable to this or not? And they don't want to talk about this because it's going to really start hitting the market for Nokia, especially, right? Because they're out there selling the heck out of the Lumia 900 right now. And so let's see.
I asked you about something called Neon earlier. I came across this in a set of developer docs for Windows Phone 8 that I had not looked at. And it's interesting when you search for the word Mango in here. Let me bring it up again. When you search for the word Mango, the very first reference, it says it has some bullet points, right? So the very first one says avoid free-for-all multitasking, aka Windows Mobile and Android. The second one, though, it says allow Mango customers to upgrade to Apollo. Interesting. Allow Mango apps to support Apollo multi-resolution. We know that they're going to be for it, but it also says lower-end devices support for something called Neon. But I don't know what that is.
Wonder if Neon was the new Tango. They always change code names to try to throw us off. They do. Like Tango. Midstream, they change them. So Neon could be Tango.
Neon and Tango are almost both certainly soft drinks in the UK. That sounds about right. Anyway, I do fully expect them to come clean on everything. Just like I expected Xbox to come clean on everything on Monday, and they didn't. So I guess we'll see. I guess they're obviously operating under their own little schedules, but
maybe you can create a day 2 keynote, Paul. over there.
A day shift, yeah. Actually, so I had written in, because they originally said plan for 2 days, and then it was 1 day. But according to them, it was always intended to be 1 day. They just wanted to get a rough time period on people's schedules. So, I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, hard to believe, but we have come to the end of this fabulous edition of Windows Weekly.
As we must.
As must always, because all good things must come to an end. But we'll be back next week. Paul Thurrott is always around at the SuperSite for Windows, winsupersite.com. Mary Jo Foley's at allaboutmicrosoft.com when she's not saving jumpers from ledges, talking them down. And, of course, we do this show every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC on twit.tv. If you missed the live broadcast, I encourage you to watch live. But if you missed the live broadcast, fear not, because you can watch after the fact. We have audio and video available at twit.tv/dubdub, or just iTunes, the Zoom Marketplace, wherever finer podcasts are aggregated. Thank you, Mary Jo, Paul.
Thank you.
Look forward to next week. And we'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.